Everyone's talking about red flags. But what if we're so focused on avoiding the wrong relationships, we have no idea how to identify the right one? Let's talk about it. It is necessary to be able to identify red flags these days, but I think we're missing an equally important conversation. What does healthy dating actually look like? Welcome to Live, Love, and Marry Wiser. I'm your host, Lorraine Edwards. Welcome if you have, this is your first time here. We have seen so many relationships go over the edge that we have committed our voices to building better fences at the cliff. So we need fewer ambulances in the valley. O is not here tonight, Onita Hall, our co host, because she is cruising with her family. But today we're going to have a great conversation together. You're going to be in the chat talking to me, and I'll be in there too. So you're going to give me your thoughts. Today, we're going beyond what to avoid and talking about what to look for. We'll discuss emotional health, aligned relationship goals, and many other things about how healthy relationships actually progress over time so you can better evaluate the relationship that you're building. Is this really right? And just because it feels right, spoiler alert, doesn't mean it is right. But in our title, we said so many people are getting some things wrong about how to recognize an emotionally healthy relationship. So I just want to take a minute right now to talk about some of the things that we're getting wrong. And then we'll give you some of the things, it's not an exhaustive list, obviously. We'll give you some of those things that we think that you definitely need to be looking for in your relationship to see, is this emotionally healthy? Now, what are people getting wrong? Number one, chemistry. Many people mistake butterflies, attraction, and intense feelings for relationship health. So many people cannot break up with someone because of that chemistry, even though they see all of the other problems in the relationship that are harming them, hurting them, and we're not even talking about abuse in the traditional like physical or verbal abuse, or certainly not sexual abuse, but the relationship is just terrible. Like, you argue all the time, it's not enjoyable, there's tension, all of these different things. You're not on the same page with a lot of things, but because of chemistry, people think this is meant to be. We just have to be on the struggle bus trying to figure it out. No, that's one thing that people are getting wrong. That is, chemistry is not an indicator of an emotionally healthy relationship. Number two, communication. You're like, come on, Lorraine, of course, communication is so important. But people often think, yes, it is important. But communication and great communication is not enough if you're ignoring values, goals, emotional maturity, and character. So when you say, oh, we communicate well, or we talk for hours on the phone, what are you talking about? What are you actually communicating? Are you actually communicating things that are about your values, your goals? Does it reflect character? Are you learning about their character and they learning about yours? So communication is a necessary part of a healthy dating relationship and marriage, but it is not the sign that this is a healthy, emotionally healthy relationship. Excuse me. Number three, what is another thing that people get wrong? Toxicity. Healthy dating isn't simply the absence of toxicity. It's the presence It's the presence of many things that we'll share shortly, but healthy habits, values, behaviors. So you can't just say he doesn't hit me, he doesn't yell at me, he doesn't XYZ, whatever you fill in the blank there. It's not just he doesn't do this or she doesn't do that. It's like, what do they do? What is present in the relationship versus just what is absent from the relationship? So that's another thing that people get wrong. Feelings. This is sort of different than chemistry. This is like, I love this person. Feelings, they feel good in a relationship. Um, but that doesn't necessarily mean the relationship is healthy. You can love someone who is toxic. You can love someone who is emotionally unhealthy. Someone can love you and you can be emotionally unhealthy. And so we cannot base emotional health of a relationship on how we feel when we're with, or how we feel about the person, even when we're not with them. So feeling good in a relationship doesn't necessarily mean the relationship is healthy. Because as I've talked to you all before, about my one of my red flags is that someone is nice. And if someone is just nice, that can feel good, but they're not intentional about your needs. They're not intentional about resolving conflict. They're not intentional about almost anything, but they're nice. They're not mean. They're not saying unkind things. They're not yelling. They're not cheating. And so you can feel good around them. It doesn't mean that the relationship is healthy. What else? Potential. We had a whole episode on this, so you all can go watch that up here. But people who evaluate someone could be, who someone could become instead of who they actually are. You know what I'm saying? And so that's already not emotionally healthy. That's on you. But you're also not looking at what is really right in front of you and where are they on all the things that matter to you. And so looking at potential, nope, that's what people get wrong, and just saying, well, he could be, she could be, but she ain't. So leave it alone. Oh, this is a really good one. Compatibility, y'all. Compatibility. That is not a reflection of an emotionally healthy relationship. You can enjoy someone, have things in common, and do fun things together, all of that, and you still can lack the emotional skills needed for a healthy relationship. Just because someone likes tennis and I like tennis and we do that together, or whatever your thing is, you like art and you like movies and all of these things, you can have a lot in common. You could have grown up in the same church, which is going to lead to our final thing that many people get wrong. But it doesn't mean that you have a healthy relationship, or that that you have the emotional skills. And emotionally healthy people have emotional skills that help them to be healthy. And the final thing that people get wrong, ooh, this is a big one. Many Christians, women and men, assume that if we share the same faith, and even further, if we share the same denominational beliefs, that automatically means that we will have a healthy relationship, or that those people have a healthy relationship, when that really it's important, but it doesn't reflect the fact that you have an emotionally healthy relationship. And there are many other things to consider besides just we go to the same church and we believe in the same God. So that's what people get wrong But what are some things that people should be thinking about that is a reflection of an emotionally healthy dating relationship? Because if you don't have an emotionally healthy dating relationship, then your marriage is going to be trash too. So let's just start with that fact. Don't be, we obviously, this is gonna, if it leads to marriage, great. If you start right here, you'll end right there. But if you start wrong, there's, you can work, work, trying to make it right later, but starting wrong is never a good decision. So I'm not saying things don't turn around and they can't turn around, and many people have turned around in marriage, but how about let's just do it right now, since we have the privilege of being unmarried. That means we have the privilege of getting some of these things right, all of these things right, so that we can make better decisions. Y'all with me? Let me know in the chat if you're with me. I want to hear from you. You should be commenting right now, especially since I'm by myself, you all. O's not here to have a conversation, so I need you all to be in the chat. Okay, so number 1, emotionally healthy dating starts with 2 people doing their own work. Come on. All right. In order to be in an emotionally healthy relationship, and we'll just say healthy, then both people in the relationship have to be healthy. No one is perfectly healed. No one arrives at the relationship with no baggage. The question is not whether you have wounds. The question is whether you are taking responsibility for those. Are you getting coached? Are you seeing a therapist? Are you implementing some skills and maybe something you learned at a presentation or a seminar, a book? Are you implementing these things? Are you working through those traumas if you've experienced them? And most of us, if you lived in this world of sin, you've experienced at least one trauma. But are you working through those things? Do you recognize that you have those things? And have you worked through a good portion of those things so that when you get to a relationship, you're not bringing that baggage? Can you acknowledge your triggers rather than blaming other people? Have you identified the source of those triggers? Can you take accountability for when you make mistakes? Do you take responsibility for your actions? Can you communicate honestly? Communication is important, but it's not the essence. Can you communicate honestly about your feelings, about your challenges, about things that maybe you are not happy with in the relationship, about things maybe that you need in the relationship? It's a sign of, work that we still need to do when we have been hurt and then we are not able to communicate that to the person. Either we just shut down or we pretend that it didn't happen. We stuff it down. We stuff it down in us. Excuse me. We stuff it down and we, maybe pretend it didn't happen, or worse yet, we act like it did happen, but then we don't want to talk about it to the person who says, hey, is something wrong? Did I do something? And then we're not able to communicate that. So, that's important. Are we able to set boundaries, and are we able to respect the boundaries of the other person? Just because you're in a relationship, you love, even you're married, you're allowed to have boundaries, and you should have boundaries because you're still an individual person. Do you refuse to tolerate abuse or manipulation? And conversely, do you refuse to engage in abuse or manipulation of another person? Are you willing to apologize and make changes when necessary? Do you have unresolved issues, but you are actively working through them rather than expecting someone to fix it. A healthy relationship cannot consistently rise above the emotional health of the people in it. So the first one is, are the two people who are in it emotionally healthy? And what I just shared is just some indicators that you are. So ask yourself this question: are you looking for someone emotionally healthy while avoiding your own emotional work? Let me know in the chat. You might not want to say that, but have you done the work? Is the person that you're looking for you? You're looking for someone XYZ, emotionally healthy, available, blah blah blah. Are you that? That's all one question, y'all. So just hit me up in the chat. Hit me up in the chat. Or if you're watching this on replay after we premiere, then let me know in the comments. For those of you who are new, um, the first, second, and third Tuesdays we show the recorded podcast, but the hosts are in the chat. We're chatting with you, getting your feedback, seeing your comments, all of those things. But on the fourth Tuesday of the month, we actually go live, and then you can hit us up with some questions. We usually have questions from different singles groups and things that I'm in, and we answer those questions. We call it Hot Topic Tuesday, and so we don't take one topic and go in depth with it. We just take several, maybe 3 or 4 different questions, and we all answer those. I hope you get to meet all of the hosts this coming fourth Tuesday. But O will be back, and we hope to get Ebony and Renee on here as well. And then we have something special coming to you probably in July. But back to our topic. Are you the one that you are looking for is looking for? Number 2, in an emotionally healthy relationship, both parties want the same thing. What do I mean? This sounds simple, but it eliminates a tremendous amount of heartache. If one person, I want to be married, and I'm dating someone, or I get into, maybe I meet someone on an app or wherever, and I'm thinking I'm getting to know people in order to determine their worthiness for marriage as it relates to me. Not worthy in the sense of I'm better than them, but worthy in the sense of all of the things that I'm about to share with you today. But they have done their emotional work. I've done mine, and that we actually are a good fit for one another. If I'm evaluating a spouse, but the other person just wants friends, or friends with benefits, or a situationship or companionship, the relationship is unhealthy from the beginning because the expectations are different. Emotionally healthy dating includes clarity. Can I get some clarity in the chat? We should be asking questions such as, are we dating for marriage? One thing that is typically that's good on those dating apps is that they ask that question, what are you looking for? The problem is people don't always approach people that match what they're looking for. Excuse me, y'all. So that's a problem, but you need to go look at someone's profile if you're interested. And if they say they're just looking for friends, you need to bring that question up from the beginning. Because some people try to be coy and don't want to just say, I want to be married. Y'all, there's no reason to be coy. I want to be married. I want to have a partner in life and ministry and boredom and fun and everything. Can I go on a little tangent, y'all? Just a little tiny. This is a little tiny tangent. Here's my tiny tangent. People make women, particularly, but men too, but particularly women in the church, feel bad about being single and also feel bad about not wanting to be single. I mean, how crazy is this? This is such a twisted way of thinking. They make you feel bad for being single, though many single women don't want to be single. It's just where we are right now. And I believe that God has us here. There are certain exceptions to that. But I think if, you've never been married, you've wanted that, you're walking with God, God has a plan for your life. Okay. But we're not going to have that conversation today. But what I will say is that whether you want to be single or you don't want to be single, if you are single, then nobody should be making you feel bad about that. Period. The other part is that if you then say actively, openly that you want to be married, then people act like you're desperate. So you stuck between a rock and a hard place. There's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So you all that are watching, if you are single and you want to be married, say it loud, say it proud, say it consistently, and hopefully you'll say it around somebody who is the person that God intended for you to meet. Don't act like you don't want this. You don't have to be desperate, and you don't want to be thirsty. Maybe we do an episode on that, but you can clearly state that this is what you want. And so, are we dating for marriage? Because I want to be married. I'm not saying I want to be married to you. I don't know that yet. But what I do know is if you're not interested in marriage, then I'm not interested in you. Are we pursuing exclusivity? What does that look like? How long does that take? Is that a number of dates or a number of months? Or is it just a feeling that we have that we're ready to be exclusive? Communication. See how communication is fitting into all of these things? What does commitment mean to each of us? What timeline are we imagining? Healthy people don't avoid these conversations because they understand to be clear is to be kind, which means to be unclear is to be unkind. One of the greatest mistakes people make is assuming chemistry can overcome incompatible goals. We talked about chemistry in the What People Do Wrong. Chemistry cannot overcome that. It doesn't matter how much you like the person. If they don't want to be married, it's just not happening. Do people change their minds? They do. Then what I would suggest to you is that you wait till they change their mind and you go on with your life and meet other people, do other things, have fun, walk in your purpose, all of the things. Don't sit around waiting for them to change their mind. Meet other men, meet other women, and keep it moving. If they change their mind so much that they chase you down and you still free, well, hey, praise the Lord. But don't be sitting around waiting for somebody to change their mind. Okay, so I'm going to tell a story. I was watching a reel. I'm telling someone else's story. But I was watching it. I was on Instagram and I saw this young man, very, very handsome young man from France. The accent and everything. Beautiful eyes. He was handsome. So I don't know what in the world was going on with this woman. So he's dating this woman, and they're, they are engaged in, sexual activity, and so that's part of their relationship. Okay, so they're not Christians that he didn't make any claim about that. He just living his life as a young person. And one day she says to him, I think they've only been, they were together just for a little while. One day she says to him that she's seeing other people. Now he's from France, he says. So he doesn't understand that terminology. And he thinks that she's talking about her eyesight. This is really kind of funny. So he's just like, well, I mean, that's cool because, um, and I don't know if he said, I don't really know what that means, or, and she said, no, I'm dating other men. And he said, what do you mean? And she said, I'm dating other men. And he's like, why? I thought we were, and she's like, well, we're not in a relationship. He's like, yeah, but we're trying to find out. He's like, I don't do that. I just date one person. I have one focus, and we date to determine, is this somebody I want to go um, further with? But she's like, no, I'm not ready for commitment. He's like, well, I'm not asking you to marry me. I'm just like, can you just be committed for a couple of months so we can see if this is something that really will last? And she said no. And he said, well, I can't do this. And she's like, yeah, but I really like you. Because he's like, well, why don't you just go to the other person? Then she's like, no, I really like you. He's like, well, if you really like me, then I need you to just be with me for now until we can determine. And then he said the coolest thing, I'll tell you it shortly, but she wasn't, she wasn't ready for that, or she didn't want to do that. And so the relationship ended. And he said that from his perspective, that, and I don't know if he said love, but romance, love is about choosing before you're sure. And I was like, that's really cool. And maybe I'll play that video for you all. It's a short little reel, but I'm like, it's true. Because, and I'm not saying choose on the first date. That works out for, some rare folks, and praise the Lord for them. But sometimes we're so obsessed with finding the absolute perfect person that we let the perfect person get away because they're perfect for us, and nobody's perfect. So choose before you're sure, not without wisdom, not without all the things that we've already shared with you about how to choose, but make a commitment. Because the reality is, you will never know. What you know about someone before you marry them is this much, and what you'll learn after is infinity. So you got to make sure you're on the same page about what the relationship looks like. Number 3, your values and faith are aligned. Now, I said earlier that faith is not the only criteria, and it's not, because everybody in the same faith or same denomination, even, they don't have the same values. I mean, some people are just church sitters. They're not really Christians. So that's the first part. Like, just because they go to church don't mean nothing. But even when they are Christians, it doesn't, you have different ideas about what you value and what's important. And those things have to work together, your values and your faith. So values determine how you spend money. So should your faith. Those things go together. Raise children, handle conflict, view sex, make decisions, prioritize family, practice faith. For Christian women especially, faith is not merely another item on the checklist. It shapes how you think. It shapes all of these things that you do before you get married and after. So when values are aligned, decisions become easier. When values are misaligned, every major and really minor life decision becomes a battleground, you all. It becomes a battleground. So attraction may start a relationship, but shared values and faith sustain the relationship. Got it? Number 4, emotionally healthy dating looks like having a healthy way to handle conflict. And this is critical. Conflict isn't evidence that a relationship is unhealthy. The inability to handle conflict is. So watch how someone responds when they don't get their way. They are disappointed. They are corrected. They are corrected. They are corrected. They are misunderstood. Can I go back to that? They are corrected, especially for men. Like, there are a lot of men who don't want to be corrected by women or even by their own woman. Now, are there women who also experience? Of course, but women are more acclimated, acculturated, and socialized to accept correction, particularly from men. And even women who call themselves feminists, there is an undergirding in our society. Now many may fight very hard against that, so they're able to break away from that, and sometimes you break too far away from it. But women are socialized to listen to men and be corrected. Now, you may not want that to be like aggressive or whatever. That's understandable. But men are less acculturated and socialized to listen to women as far as correction is concerned. So how do they act when they're corrected? How do they act when they're misunderstood? These are all things that happen in relationship all the time. And just because you have an emotionally healthy relationship does not mean these things won't happen, because they will. But how do you handle that? Healthy conflict looks like listening before defending, taking breaks when emotions are high, returning to the conversation. Okay, I need a break, but let's come back in an hour and finish the conversation. Not let's brush it under the rug and pretend that it never happened. I'm going to tell you I'm going to come back, but I'm not actually going to come back. Seeking understanding rather than victory. Seeking understanding rather than to win over your partner. That's healthy. And that both people feel understood, not just you. Let me stay there for a second. It is not emotionally healthy if just you want to be understood. You want the other person to understand you, but you don't have time to understand them. That's a reflection of the fact that only one person came into the relationship having done the work on themselves. Again, having done the work doesn't mean you're perfect. It just means that you think differently about yourself, and you think differently about how you interact with the person that you say that you love, the people that you say that you love. And you're constantly learning how to serve the person that you love and understand and grow with. So when you seek understanding rather than to win against them, that is a reflection of emotional health. You're solving the problem instead of attacking the person. The thing is, you don't need to have identical conflict resolution styles. You just need to have a mutually agreed upon process by which you would deal with the conflict in your relationship. Because if you don't, then now you turn back to emotionally unhealthy. So I don't have to change my style. You don't have to change your style, but we do have to adjust. So my style might be, and is, to get quiet and to retreat. But now that and your style might be, let's resolve it right now. Well, that doesn't work for me because I need time. So a mutually agreed upon process is I get my time when I say I need it. When I throw a flag on the play and say, oh, I need a timeout, I get that. And what you get is a time frame in which I take that time out. So if it's an hour or if it's like a big deal and we need to take a day to sleep on it, pray on it, and whatever, then we know that this is the allotted time for this. And then we both come back to the table and we work that thing out. A relationship becomes dangerous when conflict creates fear rather than resolution. Number 5, I hope y'all are loving these things and I hope you're taking notes. If you're dating, if you're in the dating, I think we're going to put it, I think that it's in the description, but if not, we'll put these in the description. But take notes because this is the good stuff, you all. Like we've talked a lot about red flags and what not to do and, all of the negative parts. Dating is exhausting, is exhausting, and dating potential and all of those things. And we'll keep talking about that because we still want to, put those fences up, but that's part of the fence. But this is the fun stuff. Number 5, they actually like each other. I mean, this sounds obvious, but I don't know that it is anymore because we've put so many barriers in the way of he has to be this and he has to this and this and then she has to be that and that and that. And so it's like, do we even have fun together? We may be physically attracted to each other, or we may just want to stave off loneliness. But here's the question that you want to ask. Would you choose this person as a friend? Would you choose this person as a friend? Do you enjoy being around them? Can you laugh together? Can you have a good time without romance or physical affection or emotional intensity? Can you just have a good time? Can you just go play mini golf together? Can you go bowling? Can you go to a museum and just walk around and talk and just enjoy that because you enjoy them? Can you get on the phone and just laugh about silly stuff? I have friends and I've said, if I could get the male version of you, it would be a great relationship because there's such a synergy, there's such a bond, there's such, all of these things. You can talk about spiritual things, you can talk about deep things, you can talk about silly things, you can laugh, you can cry, you can all of the things. I'm like, man, if I could have a male version of you, then this would be super cool. Would you choose this person as a friend? Because they should be your friend. They should be your best friend. And people argue with that or whatever, but even if they're not your best friend, you still keep your friends that you had before. Everybody relax. But that person should be your friend, because what if something happens that the sex has to go away? Or that the persons you meet, that it never happens because maybe they're in a wheelchair or something like that. But you all like each other so much. You have all these shared values, all these other things. Are you going to say, well, you are going to say no if you're not friends? Healthy dating includes friendship, enjoyment, shared experiences, curiosity about each other. A surprising number of couples love each other but don't genuinely enjoy each other. And I would even amend that statement, because I don't even know how to love someone and then you don't like them. Like you don't enjoy it doesn't, that doesn't even. So can y'all scratch that I said that? They feel like they love each other, but then they don't actually enjoy each other. I just think those are mutually exclusive. So do you just really like each other, and are you friends? And number 6, is the relationship moving forward at a healthy pace? Most stay stuck forever. They also don't sprint toward commitment before trust is established. Too slow can indicate avoidance. Too fast can indicate fantasy. Now, there are certain situations that are different, but for the most part, we're just speaking in generalities. Healthy progression looks like increased trust, increased vulnerability, increased knowledge of each other, increasing commitment. Each stage builds on evidence rather than on emotion. So they're showing me who they are every time we talk, every time we go out, and I'm showing them myself as well. And we're just like, oh, I want to spend more time. I want to go I want to spend time with them, with their family. Oh, I want to meet their friends. Oh, I want to. And some of these things should be pretty early because you need accountability. Different topic, different day, but it's coming. But I've mentioned it before, you need accountability. Don't be dating in secret. In fact, let me add that a sign of an emotionally unhealthy relationship is that you're dating in secret. Let me finish this one and I'm going to go there. So each stage builds on the evidence, not feelings, the evidence. And both people in the relationship can be honest about what they are feeling without fear of punishment, withdrawal, manipulation, or ridicule. So, healthy pace. So let me jump on over here to bonus number 7. If you're dating in secret, you're in an emotionally unhealthy relationship. There's no reason that I can think of, and if you can think of one right now, put it in the chat or in the comments. If you can think of a legitimate reason to date in secret, let me know. And I'm going to explain what secret means right now. Secret means your mama don't know, your daddy don't know, your siblings don't know, your best friends don't know, your sort of friends don't know, nobody in church knows, nobody knows but you and him and God, and maybe to somebody, the waiter at the restaurant that you sneak around at. I mean, why are you sneaking around if you're not married, he's not married? Like, you shouldn't be sneaking, and of course you shouldn't be in those types of relationships, but there's no reason to sneak around with somebody that you're legitimately allowed to be dating, and they're legitimately allowed to be dating you. Now, what I do not mean is that you can't keep your relationship quiet until you're ready to reveal that, because I'm not gonna be all out in the streets. Now, I tell y'all stuff, so that's true, but I don't tell y'all any names. And but somebody needs to know. Some people need to know. His friends need to know. His family needs to know. Your friends and family need to know. And I'm not saying if you go on one date, everybody needs to know, but I'm saying if you're in a relationship, those people, your accountability people, they need to know that that's happening. Because if it's not, then you are in an emotionally unhealthy relationship, because that's emotionally unhealthy. You're not just trying to keep it on the low until you find out, because those people are part of your decision making process. The people that are in your inner circle are part of your decision making process. So you cannot say, I'm going to date secretly until I make a decision about whether this person, we're going to go forward and this be a real relationship, because the people who you're keeping out are supposed to be part of you making that decision. So the church don't need to know, you know, social media doesn't need to know, but your best friends need to know. Your parents, if you have that kind of healthy relationship with them, they should know. Oh, your siblings, somebody should know and be able to pour into and advise around that. So that's your bonus number 7. So I hope that that not just helped you to see what are some wrong ways of thinking about how to go about this, determining whether you're in a healthy relationship, but what are some right ways? What are some things you really need to be thinking about? But I also hope that it got you excited about meeting that person and taking steps. You don't have to put yourself out in the streets or whatever, but you do need to be outside. You do need to be outside and, making yourself the best that you can be, doing the work so that you're ready for those relationships, that relationship where there might be conflict, but you now have done the work. So you know what triggers you, you know why, and you know how to communicate that to that guy, and he knows how to communicate it to you. It's so exciting to think about being in that kind of mutual relationship. Are y'all excited? Because I'm excited. And I know that it's going to happen for me. And I pray that it's going to happen for you as well. Many people think emotionally healthy dating feels easy. It doesn't. Emotionally healthy dating often requires difficult conversations, honesty, boundaries, accountability, patience, and discernment. The goal is not to find someone who never disappoints you. The goal is to find someone with whom you can build a relationship that is safe, honest, respectful, spiritually aligned, and moving toward the same destination. So, as you think about today's conversation, ask yourself this question. If someone watched your relationship for the next 30 days, would they describe it as emotionally healthy? Not perfect, but healthy. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, chat, share this episode with someone who needs this message. We're trying to grow the channel so we can have more impact on our community of single Christian women, and not just Christian women. This is good stuff for any single woman and man, for real. So, as I tell you every week, you don't need another rescue. You need to apply wisdom that will keep you from falling off the cliff in the first place, relationally. So, until next time, make choices that will help you live, love, and marry wiser. God bless.